All my life, as a, outside Lebanon, of course, I've heard about PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Like people say, oh, people who witness wars have a post-traumatic stress disorder. I said, what the hell is talking about? I witnessed wars, and I'm certain that I got better out of it from it. Okay. Well, it turns out that there's something called post-traumatic growth. Okay. Whatever doesn't break, of course, it can break you. A lot of people get traumatic stress disorder, but bad events make people grow. I mean, up to a point, of course, bad events it can be, something that kills you doesn't make you grow. But so there's something called post-traumatic growth, and psychologists don't talk about it. All they talk about is disorder, and the idea that nobody's going to make any money selling you, post-traumatic growth. They give you, because they don't have to treat you. Nature is treating you. Okay, well, psychologists make money giving you advice on your post-traumatic disorder. So they like to put disorders. And the whole attitude I have towards medicine and everything is, especially anti-fragile, is when I'm very sick, I don't go to the doctor. I go to four doctors. And if I'm mildly sick, I go to no doctor. You see, so basically, I overreact. So this is what people didn't get with COVID. I react to pandemics monstrously, but I don't react to small little deviations. So, and then of course the anti-fragile. A lot of people upregulate under stressors. That's the post-traumatic growth. In other words, if you need stressors, you must get your stressors. So they're going to be wind. There's an expression in the States: when life gives you a lemon, you make lemonade. So so you try to make, and of course the only way to make lemonade is lemon, and lemon in English or in slang means a mishap. Okay, so when you have a mishap, I don't know how it translates into Ukrainian, but the idea is that there's going to be a lot of wind. So either you go in the basement and start crying and ask for government money, all right, or there's going to be a lot of wind. You say, oh, I'm going to make some money out of it. Build windmills. So that's the main one. And if you look at history of civilization and countries, you see a parameter. A little bit of stressor has caused a lot of people to do very well. I think the most successful country in history, Singapore, they have no resources. So when you don't have resources, you tend to upregulate. The Phoenicians had no resources, so it forced them to, become merchants, and one thing leads to another. So it gets you out of the lethargical states. And you look at Saudi Arabia; they have all the resources, and look what they've done with them compared to Singapore. So you realize that in history, it's good to be small for reasons of scale. As you see, scale is nonlinear, and it's also good to have no resources. So in other words, it's like Venice. You turn water into gold. You force, so you upregulate. Say a little bit of a shock makes you better. That's the idea. Just like I lift weight, I upregulate. You see, I get the stressor, I upregulate. And sometimes uh, companies, a little bit of chaos in companies, help them improve. Okay, it doesn't destroy them, help them improve. And sometimes some companies even create their own chaos. And let me tell you one thing: the best predictor of a bankruptcy of a company is steady earnings, because it means they're not adapted to the environment. Okay, just like steady heart rate. And for an individual, if you have a steady salary, it destroys you. Okay, whereas I compared two brothers. One had was on a salary, the other one was an entrepreneur, and you see them, they're making the same amount of money, but the other one was ironically a lot more resistant. Or let's say fluctuat nec mergitur in Latin, fluctuate. But if you fluctuate, the more you fluctuate without thinking, the more robust you are as compared to something that's steady. And the best predictor, actually, of a hedge fund that's going to collapse is steady earnings. It means they're taking a lot of hidden risk. And of course, the American economy proved to be anti-fragile from this. And evolution, basically, is the mother of all gainers of convexity, because it benefits from optionality. And let me show how this adaptation mechanism works. Um, if you, simple, if you, uh, let's say you make mistakes if you have parthenogenesis, in other words, you don't have a sexual reproduction, but you reproduce yourself. If you reproduce yourself exactly as you are without variation, it's not gonna do. You're not gonna do very well. The environment may change. You won't survive. If you make mistakes and you reproduce yourself into many kids, once in a while, it's sort of like a fax machine that makes a mistake. Okay, a printing mistake, so it produces a slightly different organism. So if it doesn't work, so what? If it benefits, it gets better. So the best way is to make small mistakes, but not too many, because if you reproduce with too much variation, then you won't retain the benefits of previous adaptations. So you need to have a small rate of mistake. Okay, uh, and of course, when you have sexual reproduction, you have a lot of kids. You have variation between them. You don't want them to be too far apart genetically, but you don't want to be too close. Okay, you want them to have dispersion, so some would survive. You're living difficult times. I went through that, I tell you, and believe me, think of post-traumatic growth. That will cheer you up. I mean, our war in Lebanon lasted my child. I mean, a great part of my life, and it lasted more than a decade, and it was really completely met because it was still within neighborhoods, and as you can see, we're familiar to that, and the bad guy, you never know where the bad guy is because things turn. Okay, so so try to say, okay, this is gonna make me tougher on this, tougher on this. It helps a little, of course, and of course you have to fight. It upregulates things. An army that haven't seen a war like these Russians probably are not going to do very well, particularly that they don't have skin in the game fighting, in a remote place from their place of origin, populations who live there and cares about it. Anyway, so, but in general, I said how we can go from a concept of fragility, this is fragile, to nonlinearity, to everything nonlinear, either love or hate, volatility within a range, and to why we need volatility within a range. Why we go to the gym, it's the same idea. Why we need stressors once in a while, all kind of stressors, and you can generalize to many things. Okay, but upregulating is something that people underestimate. But let me tell you one thing. I remember during the war in Lebanon, what struck me the most is that I was stuck like you. You're hiding now. Is you want normalcy, but then you read voraciously. See, because at the time there was no internet, and I hope you keep the internet, and I'm sure Elon Musk will help to make sure it still works. But there was basically no internet in my childhood, but so we had books, okay, and you create books, and it made me, it made me love literature, love books, just being stuck in that hiding in that underground for months and months on end.
I see that there is one question which appears in different forms in chats and on Facebook as well. So people are fascinated with this concept of post-traumatic growth. And even though you
Yeah.
have already explained it, people still ask you to repeat some key ideas of it. So what would be a
Okay.
combination? How to develop it? What are the key points
No,
if you
no.
want
The whole point is to say that the stressor that you're gonna get is not just a stressor that is um, good for you, but it's something needed. You see, that it's something needed for your growth. Because I mean, we humans never had peace in history. We always had stressors. It's not till recently that we had this post-war, quiet period.